GNASS. Two degenerates, both sides of the border. John Santina, Alex Lacasse. The Great North American Sports Show.
Welcome into another edition of the Great North American Sports Show, coming to you from the post-snowtastrophe heart of the Shire that we endured yesterday and delayed this recording, as John and myself are recording on the evening of January 24th in the year of our Lord 2023. I am one of your hosts, Alex Lacasse. So, like I said, coming to you from the heart of the Seacoast and the Shire, joined as always by John Santina, coming to you from our friendly neighbor to the north up in Toronto, Ontario. John, how was your NFL divisional playoff weekend?
God, it was awful, man. Like I thought that this week, the most interesting game, and we'll talk about it, but seriously, the most interesting game involved a garbage time touchdown. That was my opinion of this weekend. Alex, how do you feel about it?
I more apathetic than I typically do, John.
That sounds about right. But I mean, we aren't kids on the schoolyard anymore, Alex. So sometimes it is hard to get passionate about football that doesn't involve our favorite teams, but that's what we're here to do. But before we get into that, we have a great show planned ahead to you as we get in to the Hall of Fame, folks, and that is the Baseball Hall of Fame, as they have released this year's class. Alex, do you want to guess? Well, actually, I know you know. How many people went into the Hall of Fame this year?
That would be one, and the baseball writers got it wrong because there should have been zero.
They had to send someone, right? Just had to send someone.
Not always.
Yeah, but we'll hit open court next as we have a trade to talk about in the NBA. Not exactly the most interesting trade, but it is a trade, so you know we're going to talk about it. And then, of course, we'll recap the divisional games from this past weekend because, I mean, it may have been a bore, but it is something to look at. And finally, we will jump into the championship round because whoever wins goes to the holy Shiva, man, the Super Bowl. And, of course, we close out the show with the Degenerates Corner. Let's get right into it. So, Alex, you jumped on it a little bit earlier. The Baseball Hall of Fame has one inductee.
It's probably still the last good Hall of Fame to talk about. And it's getting quickly eroded.
Alex, we have to first give congratulations where it's due, though. Congrats to the one inductee for 2023, Mr. Scott Rowland.
Yeah, no, he's not getting my congratulations. He's a very undeserving candidate. But I keep going back to this, John. Because Scott Rowland's co-inductee will be Fred McGriff, who was inducted through the Veterans Committees, one of those committees. I guess it's like the Modern Era Committee. There's like
it's whichever one patrols the years in which he played.
It used to be one Veterans Committee for the entire history of baseball, and I do like how they split it up now, but it certainly lends itself to being rife for abuse when you have Tony La Russa and Jerry Reinsdorf strong-arming the committee to putting in another undeserving player a couple years ago, and oh god, that was Harold Baines. And when Harold Baines got put in the Hall of Fame, it just completely shattered any notion that the Baseball Hall of Fame was still reserved for the best of the best, because Harold Baines was the best of small g good players, and so now it's the baseball small g good museum when you have guys like Harold Baines going in. I don't think Scott Rowland's a Hall of Famer, John. He was, for a time, he was probably the best defensive third baseman amongst his contemporaries, but I didn't see Brooks Robinson play, but we have Nolan Arenado right now winning platinum gold glove after platinum gold glove. And so we know what elite defensive third base play is. Scott Rowland is not Nolan Arenado, and the guy didn't even hit 400 home runs. So he's not in my Hall of Fame, John.
Well, one thing I was going to say with Nolan Arenado too is Nolan Arenado is the cornerstone of the lineup. Scott Rowland was very, very good for a very long time. Fun to watch with the Blue Jays as well.
Only hit 30 home runs twice.
But that's what I was about to say. Not a very offensive player. The one argument that Scott Rowland has for having a very strong Hall of Fame argument is his WAR. but they're like, this is the Hall of Fame, and I think there's a degree of, you need that like cultural aspect to you as a player. Like you need that, like, whether it's just counting stats or you're like super popular in addition, like you need to hit everything. It's the Hall of Fame for a reason. And Alex, I agree with you. This year there should have been no one. I mean, it just, you look at the names, well, actually, let me rephrase that. There should have been some guys, but they all do steroids. So we all know that they're not
right. The only when you look at the battle this year, the only really deserving names were Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez.
Correct.
Literally the best players of their generation who also did steroids. And
a lot of steroids in A-Rod's case, like a lot of steroids, like all the steroids.
Todd Helton was the near miss on this ballot. He got 72.2% of the vote. So you have to think he'll eventually nudge over the finish line at some point in the rest of his time on the ballot.
You'd hope so. Well, you'd hope so given the way the voters are. But even him, like, to me, like, he's kind of like in the Hall of Very Good, like borderline Hall of Fame, maybe. But like,
yeah, playing at Coors Field, he didn't even get to 400 home runs. So I mean, but hell, if you're putting Larry Walker in the Hall of Fame, I guess you got to put in Todd Helton as well.
Larry Walker, I do get that argument a bit more, just because he has more, even he has more offensive numbers than Todd Helton, though. Like, that's
I think they're very close. Stand by as we do that. But yeah, to mention the WAR argument, if Fred McGriff were going in, Scott Rowland is 70 lifetime WAR. Fred McGriff's only 52, and Fred McGriff nearly hit 500 home runs. So 500 home runs used to be, sure ballot Hall of Famer, and even 400 home runs if you had a good career otherwise, and maybe you weren't just a power hitter, you were a close to lifetime 300 hitter, that used to get you in, but you're really not anymore.
So Larry Walker, 383 home runs. Todd Helton, 369 home runs. Batting average very similar. Larry Walker, way more stolen bases though. And I believe,
Todd Helton had like 400 more hits though.
That's true. The big thing too, Larry Walker, though, a better defensive player. That's the other
right thing, and yeah, then
is...
playing in Olympic Stadium ruined his knees, like that ruined everybody's knees who played in Olympic Stadium,
especially back in the day. But one thing too with Larry Walker is, if he gone to Coors Field a little bit earlier, we saw with his 49 home run season, like, that's a guy who could fucking mash the ball, dude. So he could have potentially had some more years had he not been not playing in Olympic Stadium early on in his career, I should say. But that's definitely neither here nor there.
Yes. And so, John, we mentioned Todd Helton was the next closest to making this ballot. We mentioned Barry Bonds, we mentioned Alex Rodriguez, and Barry Bonds is, again, if we're putting Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame, putting the steroid guys.
All the steroid guys are going to get in with the era committee. Let's be real.
It's a joke. Maybe eventually, maybe Barry Bonds will be kept out of the Hall of Fame his entire life, and then posthumously they put him in the Hall of Fame. You might see something like that. But... anyone else on this list that we think is maybe deserving and might get in as we go along? I look at Andrew Jones, a guy with 400 home runs. He did have all those gold gloves, and he was maybe the preeminent center fielder of his time, maybe just before Torrey Hunter. And certainly Torrey Hunter wasn't the offensive player that Andrew Jones was. So Andrew Jones had 58% of the vote this year. Maybe look at him. Jeff Kent's going to fall off the ballot.
The one that stands out to me is Gary Sheffield. 500 home runs, a lot of, like, he has the argument for WAR, 500 home runs, 9-time All-Star, World Series champion, Silver Slugger, batting title. I mean,
I think I'm a yes on Sheffield.
I'm a yes on Sheffield, but like some steroid allegations, like that's the thing against him. Like, granted, like he was, I think at the time, if I'm not mistaken, it was viewed as, it was some cream that had like testosterone in it, and
it was what Barry Bonds was taking. The cream and the clear from Balco. I'm not going to say allegedly there, because he definitely did it.
But no, I don't doubt that. But that's why I said like steroid allegations there. So
and so out of the guys who didn't get 5% on this ballot, none of those guys were really in my Hall of Fame. So I would put Billy Wagner in as well. I think Billy Wagner is a deserving candidate.
Billy Wagner's good, but Billy Wagner also very close to dropping off the ballot. So hopefully he gets in next.
No, he gets 68% of the vote.
No. I mean, very close to dropping off in terms of eligibility. Like, I think he's
Yes,
at his
yes.
ninth year.
Yep. So usually if you're above 70%, you can make that jump. 7% in 1 year, that might prove to be
It's
too
tough.
much of a jump for Billy Wagner, but who knows, with the new rules in baseball and how there is such an emphasis on having lockdown relievers in your bullpen, maybe Billy Wagner gets the respect that he does on that last year in the ballot.
And Billy Wagner was like real good for a real long time.
Yes. That guy can be the back of my bullpen any day of the week. Certainly I take him right now on the Red Sox. But shifting gears, John, we'll bang the gavel and open up open court. The Lakers made a trade, but it wasn't the trade that everybody may have seen, or maybe everybody thinks the Lakers are going to make by shipping out these last two first round picks from deep in the Lakers war chest. Instead, Rui Hachimura is coming in for 3 second-round picks and Kendrick Nunn. John, does this put the Lakers any closer to being in the LeBron James Invitational play-in tournament?
I mean, I'm just gonna no. What's really gonna put them closer is Anthony Davis coming back. They need Anthony Davis like a plant needs sun, Alex. They need him back as soon as possible, and that's the only way that this team's gonna be able to salvage anything. I mean, when is their next draft pick?
I believe they have the worst of a second round pick swap in 2024.
Jesus Christ. That's bad. Yeah, I don't.
It's funny how all of the Lakers, all the players the Lakers have shipped out since they brought in Anthony Davis. You look at them and you're like,
they're all good.
That guy could play a vital role on this basketball team right now.
All they had to do was wait, and they would have had a roster with Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. I know I'm missing like 4 or 5 guys probably too. Like between like Taylor Horton Tucker, like this is just,
I guess you're assuming that if they keep it in their pants and don't trade for Anthony Davis when they already had him in the bag that offseason, that they don't need to make the Russell Westbrook trade.
Yep.
And I would be inclined to agree there. But who knows? GM LeBron might have gotten impatient, shipped out Kyle Kuzma for something else.
That one's a bad one too. But yeah, it's just look like there's nothing against Rui Hachimura. He's a fantastic player. He's a contributor. He can be in your rotation. He can score the basketball. But
it seems like the Lakers need shooting though. And
yeah, like what do you? This is not what you need. Like this just feels like you're kind of spot filling until Anthony Davis gets back, and it's like that's not going to work. Like we've seen this experiment fail. What, like 2 years now?
Right. It just feels like the Lakers are out there. Like every team knows what the Lakers' only real assets are, and the Lakers to this point have been disinclined to not make that trade. I assume that Buddy Hield and Miles Turner are not on the table, and I wouldn't make that trade if I was the Pacers. So
why?
I think
why?
short.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think short of that, the Lakers aren't. They're not going to want to give up those first round picks and seriously make throw in the necessary pieces to make a deal like that to bring those guys in. So short of that, the Lakers didn't get any shooting here, and that's what the Lakers need to be remotely competitive right now.
And on top, I agree. And on top of that, if you're a team negotiating with the Lakers, like the Lakers are at a position of weakness. Like if you're any other GM in the league and the Lakers are coming up to you like, we want a shooter, we want this, like, you know exactly what you want, and you're holding firm until the Lakers give you those picks. Like, there's no chance. Like Alex, come on. You think the Celtics are going to trade with them if those picks aren't involved for any?
I mean,
player?
out of principle, if
No.
I was Brad Stevens, I wouldn't make a trade with the Lakers. The Danny Ainge did make the deal after Shaq, Kobe, and the Super Lakers had their large indignity in the 2004 finals against the starless Detroit Pistons. Danny traded for Gary Payton before Payton ended up on the Heat and ended up getting a ring. So But yeah, out of principle, the Celtics should never be in a position to potentially bail out the Lakers.
See, that's my whole point. You don't bail them out. You only make that deal if you're gonna fuck them worse. And it's
Right. The Lakers
like
are, and the Lakers are probably the one franchise in the NBA where if they have money in any offseason, they can go and get the big free agent on the market just because someone will always want to play in LA, and that inherently makes the sport somewhat unfair. What it is, just kind of the way it is.
Yep. So while we can, let's make them hurt. Let's make them hurt for a real long time because right now it's not looking good.
Well, I
It's
think
not looking good.
we have GM LeBron James doing it for us, John.
Exactly. That's my point. Like just give him more autonomy. Like if like all we can hope is that the Bus family lets GM LeBron James trade more draft picks. That's it. That's all we can pray for, Alex.
Yeah, then they watch him bolt as soon as his contract's up. Be like, oh, I'm playing with Bronny. Peace out.
I'm gonna be the sixth man. No.
Yeah, he'll just sign the league minimum somewhere just to play with his son. He's like, exactly. I made my money.
I'm gonna be a bench player now because just to build his legacy. But
yep.
That was the Lakers.
So speaking of, so we talked about the Lakers. Let's talk about the team that will likely spank the Lakers on Saturday night in primetime. That's my Boston Celtics, John. And coming off this win last week against the Warriors, when the Celtics it was a very, very ugly win. Celtics probably didn't have any business winning that game, to be honest. I'm going to regret saying this. I know I am, but John, I'm going to allow myself to believe the Celtics are going to win this NBA championship. I'm going to allow myself to believe it because hear me out. I don't think there's any more tests for this Celtics team this season. I want to see them play well against the Heat tonight. I want to see them play well against the Bucks the rest of the season. Let's wax the Lakers on Saturday night, but otherwise get me through the regular season. I'll take health over the seed, but I think the Celtics have a deep enough roster to finish both with the number one seed and keep everybody relatively healthy, especially if they trade for a big to spell Al Horford and Rob Williams down the stretch. And so Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum played like ass against the Warriors for at least 3 quarters last Thursday night. And to pull that game out, that was a really, really big sign, at least for the Celtics, to tell to themselves that, like, we can play not great. Our 2 best players can not show up for most of a game. And if we can hang around, weather the storm, and we can steal a game from these guys.
That's all they need to do, because realistically, like, the Celtics are positioning themselves in a very strong place right now in the standings. Like, Alex, they're first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are.
Exactly. So that being said, once you get to the playoffs, especially given the crapshoot that the West has been this year, you know that they're going to likely have home court advantage. Excuse me, I was going to say home ice. Not
so
hockey,
it's all right. It's that time of year up north.
A little bit confusing sometimes, but But with home court, I think to your point, like, all you need to do is steal 1 game. If you can steal 2, that's fantastic, because then maybe you can win the series in short order. But all you need to do is steal that 1 game and let your stars take over at home. And I think they're putting themselves in a great position to do that. And to your point, all we hear is rumors about Jakob Poeltl. So if Jakob Poeltl ends up a Celtic, they're going to be in a prime position.
Or I would take the bigger Hernangomez brother, Willie down in New Orleans, who's fallen out of the rotation.
If you want the shorter Hernangomez brother, I'm pretty sure the Raptors are going to be selling soon. So
yeah, we've been there and done that, John, and we still have his trade exception from when we shipped him out to Utah. But speaking of that, because the Celtics and Raptors played on Saturday. And we've been making fun of the Lakers and some of their lineup choices all season, John. When the Lakers have trotted out Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, and Pat Beverly all in one lineup. What the hell were the Raptors doing with Chris Boucher, Pascal Siakam, Juancho Hernangomez, Impressive Chua? That seems like the complete diametric opposite of where the NBA has trended towards small ball in this, past, half a generation.
It's been an interesting season for the Raptors. I personally think that they're at an impasse where they know the 3 players they want to build around, being Siakam, OG, and of course Scotty Barnes. but they aren't quite sure, I think, if they want to part with Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. and some of the other pieces on the roster because of like what they've done essentially to manipulate and get that depth. But the fact of the matter is they're not a good team, man. And a good example is that, like, to me, like you're saying, that's the exact opposite of where the NBA is going. I agree with you because that lineup just reeks of like, I'm throwing names at the wall and seeing what sticks. And these guys are all, they fit our mold of they're between 6'7" and 7 feet tall. They're athletic. Doesn't matter if they can't shoot. Like maybe they can keep the ball out of the net.
Well, it's funny because seeing like before we prepped the sheet, it was before the Celtics played the Magic last night, and the Celtics are going to be lucky that the Magic don't make the playoffs because we don't have an answer for the Orlando Magic of all teams. For some reason, Mo Wagner plays like Arvydas Sabonis against the Celtics, and Bol is a hybrid of his old man and Ralph Sampson. But the Celtics handled the Raptors' height, at least, when they went big, fairly well versus like, maybe they were just mailing it in Orlando and they got up for the Raptors a little bit because the Raptors are a good team. But it was just like really funny because I was going to have a lot more trash to talk here, but the Celtics didn't really prove themselves to be able to handle height in their next game.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, so where do the Raptors go from here? I know you said that there's these 3 core building blocks, but a guy that I always have liked on the Raptors bench that Nick Nurse, I guess, has this huge aversion to is a guy like Malachi Flynn. Like, are you to the point?
Malachi.
Are you to the point where just there really isn't anything else salvageable on this roster, and you're ready to move anything that isn't tied down to rebuild here? Or is there like another piece that you think could complement these guys well, like a Malachi Flynn, that might not be getting the opportunity?
They're at a very interesting place. Now, I think a guy like Malachi Flynn does deserve some more playing time. He's proven to be like productive too, just for whatever reason Nick Nurse doesn't trust him. I think like the best thing for them would just be to sell off everything because the biggest issue is where they are in the standings. Like they're kind of on the cusp of jumping in the bubble. So, and they don't have a lot of like pieces that they can move without kind of depleting their depth. So you're at like kind of an impasse where it's either you choose these 3, get as much cap space around them and assets around them, or you have to do, because they're not good enough as is. And I don't believe that they have the assets to pull off a big trade right now, because I don't think any team's going to want Fred VanVleet on an expiring deal, plus Gary Trent, who also needs an extension in short order. So that
VanVleet's on the wrong side of 30, right?
I believe he's like 29. That's the thing. But either way, when the extension kicks in, because he does have a player option, he will be, I believe, 30. Oh no, he's 28. So he'll be 29.
So yeah, he's close. He's pushing it. So
but exactly. So anyway,
do you think that I guess based on how I see the Raptors pecking order, I think of those 3 building blocks, Anunoby is the 3rd guy.
Yeah.
So are you prepared if push came to shove that you're willing to move him if you think that it sets the Raptors up in a better position in the future?
If it truly does, yes. But I think that they're not, like, I don't see a trade for OG Anunoby coming up that's really going to put them in that kind of position.
Right. Not at this deadline, but maybe that's more of an offseason move.
Like, even in the offseason, though, like, I don't see someone giving up like 5 draft picks for OG Anunoby. So, or something crazy like that, that's going to like really blow the Raptors' minds.
The Timberwolves really effed up because now all of these teams can just say like, well,
exactly.
Look at what the Timberwolves gave up for, yes, a 2-time defensive player of the year, but a guy who has a somewhat limited role in the NBA today.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If OG Anunoby wins defensive player of the year and someone goes, oh, here's like 3 first-round picks for him, do it. Go for it. Yeah. But I don't think anyone's going to do that. And like the pieces that are going to get you that kind of yield are like Siakam probably. And that's about it, because you're not going to trade Barnes. And Barnes has shown like wonderful numbers as his usage has gone up with some of the injuries this season. So I think the number one thing you have to do is kind of move out some of those other ball handlers and just let Scotty do his thing more. And for me, the ones that I'm looking at primarily would be Fred VanVleet and of course Gary Trent Jr. Even if you can't get too much for them at this point, you just got to get something.
Trent should have some value as a shooter, you'd think.
You'd like to think. And like that's the thing. Like, especially if you're a team like the Lakers, like I don't know how they would make that work, but if you can give the Raptors an expiring deal back, like yeah, like they'll take one of the first, and that should be fair enough. And that's the whole thing. Like the Raptors just need to keep prepping to basically just build and collect as many assets and as much salary cap space.
Maintain flexibility.
Exactly. To build around the 3 building blocks. And Alex, to that point though, if you are looking for a big, you could have a discount Chris Boucher.
I like Boucher.
Right? He's a solid player.
But I feel like if the Celtics are going to dangle someone like Peyton Pritchard, who is out of the rotation, you'd like to get more than Chris Boucher.
You like to think. And like because for the Raptors, like I'm talking about stuff like just trading guys for like a first round pick if you can get it, like anything you can get realistically. Peyton Pritchard would be a nice little like added bonus if they could get a player like that. But I
think because he's viewed as this guy who has NBA shooting talent but just can't crack the Celtics rotation.
Exactly. Just because the Celtics are too deep with guys like Brogdon, Smart, like they're just loaded. But
yeah, and Derek White. So I mean, you have that 3-headed guard rotation.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's tough to crack in as a 6'2" guy that can only really shoot.
That's your thing, man. I hit threes.
Well, John, let's say we take a break and we will dive into certainly after all the momentum, or at least all the hullabaloo from wild card week. It didn't seem like it rolled over to the divisional round, but still some big games, and we have the NFL's Final Four set up. So don't flinch, don't move an inch, and we'll be right back.
And we're back.
Now we're back.
Let's talk about well, in my opinion, I don't know about your opinion, it was the most interesting game of the divisional weekend, which was Jags Chiefs.
Interesting, yes. Seeing how Patrick Mahomes went out and got hurt.
Oh, Alex, your mic just skipped out for a second, buddy.
Oh, my back.
Yep, you're good.
All right. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Yeah, so I'd say interesting. Yes, I'd agree that Chiefs Jags was the most compelling game because you have Patrick Mahomes going out, a high ankle sprain. That's typically in the regular season. That's a 3-4 week injury at minimum. And so who knows what his status is going to be? I mean, he's going to play, but how effective can he be against the Bengals, who are playing with a real hair across their ass? But I think the real story of the weekend is the Buffalo Bills and the odds-on favorite at the start of this NFL season to win the Super Bowl, no showing at home.
Who would have thought that all it took to scare the Bills was a little bit of snow and a QB with tiny hands?
A little bit of snow. And yeah, have you seen the renderings for their new stadium? In Buffalo, of all places, you're going to play in a dome. And I mean, given that performance, I guess it makes sense. But it's also like, oh, you weaklings, you cowards.
It was like, yeah, it wasn't good. Not in the slightest. And what's crazy is that the Bills have not been good at all, and not enough people, like we were talking about this before the show, the Bengals have won 10 of 11 rolling into this game to end the regular season. They were red hot. They dominated the trenches against the Bills on Sunday. And one thing that I thought was so noticeable in this domination,
with two offensive linemen out nonetheless.
Yep, 2 offensive linemen out. And one thing I will say though, without Von Miller, the Bills they've been not the same.
Their defense was definitely coasting and then they also lost Micah Hyde early in the season as well.
Yeah, and then that was a scary incident too with Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer like colliding too on that pass interference play. But anyway, the domination in the trenches by the Cincinnati Bengals without 2 offensive linemen, just crazy. And it's just everything about the Bengals in that matchup, like they were efficient. Their offense stayed on schedule. Like you can't say enough good things because that was a clinical ass whooping.
Yeah, I also think like the Bills, like the Bills played their part in that though. They were playing in zone. They Didn't make
that was
any
bad.
of the
The zone was
catches
awful.
difficult for the receivers. Whatever the route was, the receiver, it was not getting contested down the field. And they turned around, and it was a fairly easy pitch and catch all afternoon for the Bengals, and the Bills just never felt like they got in the game.
That's very true. And one thing too, Alex, I was going to ask you: do you think we're not giving enough shit to Josh Allen, who had more turnovers than touchdowns this playoffs?
So he definitely regressed in the went the opposite way when you need to be playing your best football compared to how the Bills started this season. And I think they were just on such this emotional roller coaster with the Damar Hamlin situation. I don't think they properly regulated their response. And I think they came out like gangbusters in that first playoff game. They didn't play their best football against the Patriots. Coming out of that Damar Hamlin, situation, the Patriots hung around in that game and, were in it in the second half. Not that they really threatened, but still, the way the Bills have been playing with the Patriots and the, other games, the other head-to-head matchups prior, the Bills mopped the floor with them, other than that, weird monsoon game. So now you go into the playoffs, you come out a wild card weekend, you make a statement, and I think they just ran out of gas afterwards. And it's awful that happened to their teammate, their brother. We're glad he's making a recovery, but I think it just burned them out at some point, and they felt like maybe they felt too much pressure. You're at home, he's in the building, and you forgot you had to play a really good football team.
That's fair. That's fair. There did seem some flaws with, or not flaws, I should say, but some. Yeah, the Bills just didn't seem like themselves. Like it's almost like they lost their swagger, and I think a degree of that, like, had, to your point, like, come down to the game planning, a lot of covers plays, and Sean McDermott just. It just seemed like he came up lacking, and it seemed like some of the other coaches that he's worked with, like Brian Daboll, he got waxed too, but like in his first playoff game, he was at least a lot better. And it's just, I don't know. Sean McDermott just, it felt like his game plan was very, very lacking in this, not just for the moment, but it just like his team just felt outmatched at every single turn. That's all.
In a vacuum, we would look back and say that's a game that gets a head coach fired. You come out that flat at home when you're the prohibitive favorite to win it all, at least at the start of the season again. I think it's a little unfair given the Damar Hamlin situation and how, McDermott had that team responding. You didn't hear murmurs that, heard nothing of the sorts that he was, being a hard ass or nothing of the like. Like I think all the players appreciated how he managed the team, and maybe he had to lean on his coordinators for game planning while he kind of played, grief counselor of sorts, for his team. I think had the Damar Hamlin situation not happened, maybe the Bengals win that game against the Bills, and the Bills fall to the third seed, or I guess they would have fallen to the second seed because the Bengals had the tiebreaker of the Chiefs and Bills. So yeah, maybe the Bills are, still the second seed, but they're playing the Chiefs, and maybe the Chiefs go in and, whip them because the Bills were in a bad way these last couple weeks of the season. Then I think Sean McDermott would very much be on the chopping block. So I think the Bills, for his job security, anything short of going to the Super Bowl next year, I think Sean McDermott's out, or a slow start. Maybe the Bills get a real quarterback, or excuse me, maybe the Jets get a real quarterback, and now they're a threat in the AFC East. Aaron Rodgers, wants out of Green Bay. Who knows?
Jets signed Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it sounds like the Giants are bringing him back. Sorry,
no, they want to, unfortunately, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes, Alex.
But yeah, so I think Sean McDermott's seat is going to be very hot next season.
I agree. This team was the odds-on favorite for the Super Bowl. They did have Von Miller out, like I said, but you can't just let one injury, like, injuries happen. Like, you can't blame this on one incident or one injury. And yes, the DeMar Hamlin thing did play a huge factor in the Bills season, but you like
Also, like Von Miller's a guy that you bring in to put yourselves over the top.
over the
He's not
top,
supposed
not
to
to
be the
like, yeah,
linchpin of your defense.
which it felt like he was to a degree. And it's just, even with the DeMar Hamlin thing, like I'd like to think that the Bills could have used that as a rallying cry to sort of drive them deep into the postseason. And yeah, they just fell short. And it's just everything about the like their gameplay, like their play on this past weekend was just completely out of sync. And yeah, to your point, like a lot of that will ultimately fall on the coach. And I mean, Alex, do you think this is like a situation where a new voice in the locker room could potentially like, push this team over the top?
That's the thing. You're the Buffalo Bills, and Sean McDermott is the best coach the Buffalo Bills had this side of Marv Levy. And so when you're the Bills, what do you woof woof to you?
Yeah, no, my dog's going a bit crazy right now.
No, it's all good. So when you're the Bills, it's like, yeah, we could probably like, Sean Payton would be a really good coach for the Bills right now. But short of bringing in a guy like Sean Payton, you can always do a lot worse in the NFL. And seeing who the Bills were before Sean McDermott came in, and like, the grass isn't always greener, John. So they are in a real catch-22.
That's fair. That's fair. But it a lot can change because we could see some coaches have some other flat performances in the championship games and potentially find themselves out of a job. I doubt it, but you never know given the circumstances of how something could play out in like a big moment like that.
I don't see that happening with these teams.
I doubt it though with these teams because I have a feeling it's going to be close.
Right, because I mean, you look, Shanahan's on his backup quarterback, or the third string quarterback. The Eagles, people thought the Eagles would be good and maybe win the division, but they didn't see them winning, the number 1 seed, locking up the bye, home field advantage. Andy Reid, he's not getting fired in Kansas City, and and Zach Taylor. Yeah, the Bengals in the Super Bowl in our lifetime, John. The Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Alex, all I mean is there could be some more vacancies that we're not like aware of right now, or some coaches available. It doesn't have to be any of the 4 teams that are in it, but just after the season's over. That's all. Yeah. So there could be some more names that they could look to. But I mean, Sean Payton would be an interesting one if he was willing to come back this early.
Sean Payton, that's the name. Like if I'm the Bills GM, like the guy that I need is Sean Payton. So if you're telling me I can bring Sean Payton in, then yeah, I'd move on from Sean McDermott. But I'm not sold on Sean McDermott. But I complain about coaching all the time in the NFL. So here's a guy that's built up something. It's not, it hasn't been a champion yet, but he's at least built a real program, and in the NFL, that's not nothing. But yeah, we talked Jags Chiefs as the most interesting game. When Patrick Mahomes went out, John, I thought the Jags had a real chance, but Chad Henne came in and really steadied the things for the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, yeah, it's gonna. I think this is one of those. They built a big enough, a big enough lead where. I mean, Chad Henne held the fort down, but I think this is one of those injuries where it affected them less against the Jags, and it's going to hurt them more next week when they play the Bengals. Like, I think that this, to your point, this high ankle sprain it might have opened the door for the Jags to put their foot in, and they made it interesting with some garbage time points. But yeah, like, I think that where this is going to come into play is next week. Patrick Mahomes is going up against a monster of a Bengals defense. They're going to put him under a ton of pressure, just as they did last NFC Championship game. By the way, shout out to Patrick Mahomes for
and he's doing this one on one leg.
Yeah, doing it on one leg. But yeah, like this is one of those games, Alex. Like I was saying, I think this affects him next week. I think that this is going to be a huge problem for him going into Cincinnati.
I would agree, and I'm here to give the Bengals credit because I think just getting yourself in a position where you're favored, granted you're still going on the road, but the Bengals have a hair across their ass. They believe this game should be being played in Cincinnati this week and not Kansas City because they had that tiebreaker over both the Bills and, they could have had the tiebreaker over the Bills, and they had it over the Chiefs. They've won their last 2 against the Chiefs. So
Actually, 3 if you go
yeah,
back to
excuse me.
the
Yeah, they won their last 3 games against the Chiefs. So if you're the Bengals, you feel like you were disrespected all season. And again, you're the Bengals. I fully expected this team, and there was a little bit of a shaky start, or at least a slow start. And I expect this team to lose focus and maybe not even make the playoffs. And that was pure disrespect for Joe Burrow. And so I'm eating crow there. And yeah, I think the Bengals have the if Patrick Mahomes can pull out this game, that's gonna be a Willis Reed performance,
that'd
and
be pretty legendary. But
it will be very and ESPN will be drooling all over themselves to have this guy to talk about. So it'll be that would be something, but I don't know how you can pick against the Bungles right now.
it's hard to see. Like the Bengals are rolling, like as we said, 10 of 11 at the end of the regular season, just absolutely on fire. Probably would have been more if it wasn't for that other game that we spoke of. Like, yeah, I have a really tough time picking against them right now. Like they just seem like that team that understands what needs to be done in the playoffs. Like whether it's like just inching games out, just
And they're balanced. They on offense especially.
and that's what I was gonna say. Like they're patient, they get it. And one thing is that this team on the defensive line and offensive line understand that that is how you win games, just depth and domination in the trenches. And they understand. Like I think, well, not understand. I think that Joe Burrow's injuries were in his rookie year definitely it taught them a lesson. Like they knew that they had something special and that they know that they need to win this one aspect of the game to ensure that that
And
is
we
the main
cannot let him turn into Carson Palmer.
exactly. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about the Bengals' performance against the Bills. Like that was a straight up ass whooping.
And speaking of
And
other teams that dominated, John,
yeah,
the
other
Giants
teams
came
handing out
to
ass
the
whoopings.
end of the line at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia this weekend. We'll just start quickly with the Giants because there really wasn't much to talk about in the
No.
game. John, was this an overachievement where you thought the Giants would be, or it's tough to say it was an underachievement, so I won't even ask that question. Was
Yeah,
this an
no, it's
overachievement, or did you expect the Giants to be this sneaky good?
no overachievement. Brian Dable did excellent at not losing games. Like that was actually one of the reasons why I thought this wouldn't be a blowout. I didn't think they would win by any stretch of the imagination. Like this is a very good Eagles team, and they beat the piss out of the Giants. Like they made this Giants O line that has like one of the highest graded offensive linemen this year in Andrew Thomas look like last year's O line, which was one of the worst O lines in like arguably the history of football. So bravo to the Eagles. Like they're fantastic. They put Daniel Jones under pressure 60% of the times, and Jalen Hurts was just a human highlight reel in the first half. So they beat the piss out of the Giants, and good on them for making the championship game.
And so when you're looking at the division going forward, do you see as a Giants fan, do you see the Eagles as this juggernaut? Like, I mean, like I look out at the Bills right now as a Patriots fan. So I look at the Bills right now and be like, we're not close. And if we're not close to the Bills, then with all their flaws, as we just discussed, I don't think we're close to even remotely competing. So do you look at the Eagles like they are some juggernaut, or do you look at the Giants as like, we took a step in the right direction, and with the if we make the right additions, and we'll talk about the most important position, John, and where you may be different from management, but do you at least see them as close to the Eagles, or do you think you still have a long ways to go?
No, I think they still got some building to go. And to that point, like it starts with like things like the quarterback position where I think they're very much at a stopgap area. And Daniel Jones is a fine player. He's a good game manager, but he's not an elite player. And you oftentimes need an elite player to win. And the Giants are just building right now. And they just have to keep building in the right direction. And that's the only way that they're going to be able to eventually become a contender. Like the Eagles, one thing they've
What
done
if they sign
really,
Lamar Jackson? I know the Patriots aren't going to do it. Like,
well, that's what I was about to say is that the Giants have a chance to potentially step in that direction very, very quickly. Like another name that rings true is like if you really wanted to go to New York, you could potentially make a move for Aaron Rodgers too.
yeah, I
Like,
was just going to say,
like,
yeah, do a trade for Rodgers.
yeah, like I don't think they would necessarily like. I really do think the Giants are going to re-sign Daniel Jones and kind of like go that route with the stopgap.
Well, that's what the team has said. And they can just, if push comes to shove, they can take the 5th-year option, right?
No, they declined it already.
Oh, they declined it, right? Okay.
Yeah, they straight up declined it. So they can't do that. But yeah, like for me, like I do agree, like they could jump forward a lot with potentially a guy like Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they're going to do that though. I think they're going to stay the course, just keep building slowly. It's a little bit scary though, because as long as Daniel Jones is your quarterback, there will always be that option looming that you might have to make a trade or eventually tank to get the guy you need.
Well, there's also the issue of, I think Saquon Barkley, assuming he stays healthy, I think he is the best in between the tackles, every down running back in the NFL since Adrian Peterson.
He's pretty good, but like I have a tough
Exactly,
time.
but like,
I don't want to give him money. Like that's the
yeah,
thing.
you're
Like,
gonna pay that guy because we talk about this all the time, John. Like, what are running backs really worth?
yeah, like that's my thing. Like I don't want to pay a running back, and that's the other big thing is that their offense is built around like a very good game manager and an extremely elite running back, and it's like that's the toughest thing to re-sign and build your offense around. And that's like the big thing. Because if you look at their defense, like their interior defensive line is one of the best in football. Kayvon Thibodeau looks like he's going to be a fantastic player for a long time. And they're starting just like I said, build. But you have to solve that those two key positions first. And as long as they got Jones there, it's going to be a tough road ahead of them. But I think that's enough on a team that got their ass whooped, Alex.
Yes. Last game, probably the best uniform matchup of the weekend. Cowboys and 49ers. Still one of the best matchups that you get in the NFL. But I wasn't that impressed with Brock Purdy, John. It just Dak Prescott did Dak Prescott and Cowboys things, and they screwed up a few more times than the 49ers did.
I mean, that's for sure. Brock Purdy, though, it's impressive, though, that Brock Purdy's undefeated, and you got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, he's a rookie, so come on. Got to give him some credit for that, even though he wasn't the most impressive this game. But to your point, Alex, the Cowboys, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I get it on that last play of the game. I didn't think it was that egregious, but it definitely reminded me of the fake Indianapolis punt when Griff Whalen snapped it to Pat McAfee under center.
Did you not see McAfee's comment on that? He's like, yo, that play wasn't supposed to be snapped.
Yes, he's speaking from experience there.
Like, yeah, so it's like you're looking at the Cowboys, and it's like that's how their season. Like, just everything about that.
It was a very Cowboys way to end.
It was a very Cowboys.
It crashes and burning. It crashes and burns spectacularly.
We mentioned Aaron Rodgers too before. You got to think he was smiling a little bit there when Mike McCarthy called that play.
I mean, what other plays can you really run when you're on your own 25-yard line? Like, yeah, maybe you can
not that.
Yeah, you can line up your offensive line normally. I guess that might be a start, and then do the scramble fumble Ruski kind of drill.
The whole thing was it's not that the offensive linemen were like not in the regular position. It's the fact that you ran a basic slant, and there's like no point of them not being where they like. There's no point of them being out there. It just wasted time. And like,
yeah, because Ezekiel Elliott got completely blown up trying to make that block. So, I mean, what can we say about the Cowboys? I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to get fired as much as Jerry Jones may want to this offseason, but I don't see that. He's got himself at least one more year down in a big D. But I think it's just what the Cowboys always do. Maybe they make a big splash in the draft or sign this one free agent to patch this one big hole. They'll be on national TV at least every other week, John. That's so annoying. I get the Cowboys. Get the Cowboys off my fucking television.
All right, Alex, here.
Pardon my French.
We both hate the Cowboys, so we'll just do one thing real quick. If you're running the Cowboys, you're Jerry Jones. What do you do?
I fire I probably sell the team. Because it's just not going to happen. I mean, or at least stop drinking like a fifth of whiskey like every day, and then get your head out of it,
Oh, yeah. I also think as long as they have Mike McCarthy at the helm, like they're destined to fail. Like I think
how did Mike McCarthy win a Super Bowl
as
a 6 seed?
Aaron Rodgers. That's how he had one of the best defenses in football that year, and he had Aaron Rodgers calling his offense. That's how he did nothing. He
For
did
like
absolutely
for
nothing.
one season, Aaron Rodgers had his head screwed on, and then he's like, now I can do exactly what Brett Favre did and just fuck off the rest of my career.
We've seen it several times. Like Aaron Rodgers, when his head screwed on, he's fantastic. It just doesn't stay that way.
Yeah, very, very seldom. But so looking ahead, John, when we look at the NFC Championship game, I'm concerned for the 49ers. And because all Brock Purdy, if he plays a pedestrian bad game, a lost fumble, a pick, hovering, just under 60% passing or, for completion percentage. I think the Eagles are way too explosive, and the 49ers are going to have a tough time keeping up, even with their defense. And I think the 49ers are the best defense left.
I think the 49ers collective defensive unit might be better, but the Eagles defense will be a huge problem for Brock Purdy. They managed to put 60% pressure. Daniel Jones was under pressure 60% of his snaps. Now, if they can get anywhere close to that against Brock Purdy, I think this is game over. I think Brock, like the 49ers are a very, very deep team, a well-coached team, a team that runs on a fantastic system. And that's no disrespect to any of the players in it or Brock Purdy. But I think he is they're a unit that's a sum of the parts and a sum of the system. And I think that if they are unable to contain the Eagles pass rush, this is going to be game over real quick.
Right. The 49ers need to make this game a tractor pull.
Exactly.
And it's going to be, a field goal, 4-point game either way.
It needs to be exactly what this game against the Cowboys was. And to that point, the game against the Cowboys was a bit of a struggle because of players like Micah Parsons. And because of that, I think the Eagles are going to potentially not have their way with the 49ers, but cause all sorts of issues all day. Like, I think the Eagles are going to win this game.
It hasn't moved off 2, and the Eagles are 2.5-point favorites at home. And on the other side, like the flip side of that coin is that line smells because the Eagles only getting less than a field goal.
Yeah.
I think that means that
at home,
at least Vegas really respects the San Francisco 49ers with a 7th round pick starting a quarterback for them.
I think they really respect Shanahan and what he's done with this 49ers team over a course of years.
It can't be that easy that the Eagles win by a field goal or more. Like it just can't be. And so that's the one thing. But otherwise, like, how can you not like the Eagles with less than a field goal?
It's just, like I just the Eagles outright in general, but
no, they're laying 2.5. So
yeah, well, no, that's fair in terms of the line. But I spent in general to win the game. But yeah, like to me, the only way the 49ers win this game, Alex, to your point, they have to run Christian McCaffrey into the fucking ground.
Well, Elijah Mitchell played well for them too, and I feel confident turning around and handing him the ball as well.
Elijah Mitchell, you can be totally confident giving him the ball as well. But point being is run the Eagles into the ground.
If Christian McCaffrey is the best offensive player, the 49ers have a chance.
Exactly. Don't get run reverses with Debo, set plays, everything. Don't give them a chance to put your quarterback under pressure. Just eat the clock, eat each possession, dig into them, and grind them. That's their key to victory for the 49ers this weekend. There's no way if this gets into any sort of a track meet, they're fucked. That's to put it lightly too.
And so on the AFC Championship game, we touched on this a little bit, John. How do you see this playing out now with Patrick Mahomes playing with a high ankle sprain?
Oh man, that was so tough. I thought it was gonna be a close game before this, but I don't see the Chiefs having much of a chance if Pat Mahomes is injured. Like I was saying, the Bengals are a team that's built to dominate these playoff style type tractor pull type games where they can beat you in the trenches. And if Patrick Mahomes isn't mobile and can't escape and evade some of that pressure, or
if he just can't step into his throws,
and especially if he can't step into his throws, they're in a world of hurt, and we could see Chad Henne earlier than not just to protect Patrick Mahomes' health.
Right, and you don't know how much this. Yeah, I'm sure it's swelled up a ton after the game, and he probably got it shot up at halftime. So I don't see how the Bengals lose this football game. Because it's a high ankle sprain. We know how long high ankle sprains take, and that thing is not going to be healed for like, who knows if he can even put weight on it.
Here's the thing. He's gonna, I forget what the drug is, but they're gonna shoot up his ankle. Yeah, no, there's another one that they use.
Cordal?
I believe it's Cordal, but they're gonna use like both, or it's either Cordal or something.
Tordal.
Or Tordal, yeah, Tordal. Yeah. So they're gonna use Tordal and probably cortisone, and then he'll be able to at least walk and stand on it.
You can keep the pain down for one half. So you have to take your pick, first half, second half.
Exactly. And like otherwise, other than that, it's not really gonna work. And that's like his best chance. And keep in mind, like if depending on the grade of the high ankle sprain, he's gonna be severely limited in terms of mobility, regardless of pain. It's just gonna be like he can put weight on it. And that being said, like, yeah, like dude, like this is just one of those injuries. Like this is like Derrick Rose getting hit under the bucket, man. Like this is just all your hopes going out the window. And it's
that injury proved to have a lot more far-flung consequences for his
relax.
career.
I mean, like that one had more consequences for career. I mean, for like 1 year, dude, chill.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I think right now Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen are the best 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. And playing on the best teams. And
I think it's probably the bar in that order too.
Yeah, the bar for them needs to be, you got to make the conference championship game every year. And I mean, granted, only 2 of them can do it, but so like if you're going to be elite of the elite, you got to keep getting back there. And so, an injury like this, if it turns out the Chiefs had no shot in this game, it's like, well, that's one more blown opportunity if you get in there. So like it hurts. And so I got to take the Bengals here. So I'm with you. So we both got do we, who you got winning the NFC Championship game, John? I don't know if we go.
We didn't like officially say, but I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I really want the 49ers to win this.
Me too, but
I really do. I just this is
I don't see it.
Yeah, like I think Purdy's running out of magic, man.
Exactly. Like it has to catch up with him sometime. And so that's why I'm on the Eagles. We both have an Eagles-Bengals Super Bowl. Who you got?
Yeah, Eagles have the best roster, but I have a really tough time betting against Joe Burrow right now. And like I think that whoever wins the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl. And it's unfortunate because I thought that Patrick Mahomes would have a very serious chance to win this game, but that injury takes it out. And so I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals beating the Chiefs. Or beating the Eagles, excuse me.
I never, ever in my life would think that the Bengals should be favorites to win a Super Bowl, but I guess there's a first time for everything, John. So, yeah, if I was the player right now,
first, man.
Give me the give me the Bengals winning it all. Especially if they get back, that means that they're on a mission because how often do the Super Bowl loser get back? With a chance to make up for a season. So if they get back, I think that's a clear indication that they're out to win it. We're gonna jump right into this week in social media, John, because we're quickly running out of time here on this edition of GNASS. Who you got, or who's getting your shout out this week?
My shout out's going to Winnipeg. We're going to the Winnipeg social media team, the Winnipeg game crew, because someone hit a little bit too many screens on I don't know what they did, but they fucked up the game computer and all they saw was an error screen on the ice. So shout out to the game crew in Winnipeg. You messed up the free game, but the good news is puck drop came early, boys. Alex, who's getting your social media shout out this week?
That would be the Red Sox, who had their fan weekend, and we call them pink hats here in Boston, just the people that love showing up to Fenway Park for a few $14 Bud Lights and swinging Sweet Caroline, because it's Red Sox baseball. And god damn it, there's some people like our friends at Craig_Teed who are just pissing and moaning. So they have their fan weekend. Fans show up and boo ownership because of the abomination of an offseason that they've had, and good for them. I'm glad the Fellowship of the Miserable is still alive and well amongst Red Sox fans. And so you got these toadies like this Craig Teed here, who's like, oh, they'll spend money to attend a fan festival just to boo ownership and the chief baseball officer and then proceed to do more fan activities. Yeah, all of these people deserve to be booed. I would have... Hein Bloom needs to get fired, so I hope the Red Sox go winless in the division, or at least another 6-13 performance against the Toronto Blue Jays, because this long national nightmare here in Red Sox Nation cannot end soon enough.
Alex, you gotta be ready though. I mean, you got a shortstop today, so be happy.
Yes, Dominican felon Raul Mondesi's son, Adalberto. Great. It's not like we had the best shortstop in franchise history. Whose shoes he's filling? It's fine. I'll live.
Well, Alex, the bad news is you don't have your franchise shortstop anymore. It's unfortunate, but the good news is it's time for Degenerate's Corner.
Well, sometimes she goes, sometimes it does. She didn't go. That's the way she goes.
22 black, 22 black. Ass, son of a bitch.
Fucking way she goes, he said.
Oh no, why did I bet the company payroll? Oh, Gil's in a lot of trouble.
Can the boys beat the number? We'll find out on Degenerate's Corner.
That's the way she goes, buddy. The fucking way she goes.
Yeah, and the bad news is I lost my last NFL teaser because the freaking Bills couldn't let Skylar Thompson.
The Bills screwed everybody. Okay.
Yeah, they let Skylar Thompson like it wasn't even. I didn't need Skylar Thompson. I didn't need the Bills to cover 2 touchdowns against Skylar Thompson. I just needed them to cover 7 points. Couldn't do it with the teaser. So unfortunately, the NFL teasers turned against me heading a championship weekend. But I may be going back to the well, John, for my best bet. But before we go there, how did your best bet do?
Not well. So our last show bets were actually during the wild card weekend, and I took Seattle to not get fucked up, which they did. Yeah, not good. But Alex, we're going to go back to the well.
Yeah, you should have taken them in the first half, John.
I should have, but guess what? We're going straight back to the well because we need to win some money back, buddy.
Yes. So where are you going for your best bet?
Ooh, so my best bet, I'm going to take my Super Bowl matchup. Bengals, Eagles, money line plus 204. That is it. Just straight up. Got to win this week, buddy. That's it.
The old money line parlay.
Yep. How about you, Alex? What is your best bet? I'm guessing you're going to the well too?
Like I said, we're going to the well one last time. This is minus 120. Little bit of juice. Normally here on Degenerate's Corner, I don't want to give you juice on my best bet, but if you want to play the teaser, we got to play it at minus 120. So we're going to tease down the over in the 49ers Eagles game to over 39.5. I think both these teams will at least be able to score 20 points. Granted, my 49ers over I had a teaser over divisional weekend with the 49ers Cowboys and a tease down over. Didn't go well, but I think we rebound here in both these teams. It should be competitive, and they can at least score, make it a 24-20 football game. I think it's very much within the realm of possibilities. And we're gonna take the Bungles. We're gonna tease them. When I took the bet, they were 1-point dogs. Now I think they're favorites. It might even be 2.5. Stand by. The Bungles are 1.5 point favorites. So you're not supposed to tease through 0, John. So maybe a teaser isn't for you this week, but I got them at +1, so I teased them up to 7. So I like them being able to lose by no more than 2 field goals to be able to catch this bet.
I think
should be able to catch this bet. Long shot and parlay, John. Where are you going?
I'm going to do a super soccer money line parlay now that the Premier League is back. We're looking to the February 4th weekend slate of games. We're going to take Newcastle on the money line versus West Ham, Liverpool on the money line versus Wolves, United versus Crystal Palace. We're going to take Brighton versus Bournemouth, Brentford versus Southampton, and first place Arsenal, unfortunately, versus Everton. So that brings you a total of plus 1368 for our Premier League moneyline parlay. Alex, where are you going for your parlay or long shot, my friend?
So, because I put in my best bet with juice, had to give a lot of plus money here on this parlay. So we got 9 legs, NBA, college hoops, NFL, and 1 NHL winner from John. It's gonna be plus 59.50. So tonight we're going under 230 Clippers Lakers. Clippers play at a slow pace. They're 5-point favorites against the Lakers. They're both sleeping in their own beds. I like the Clippers to dictate pace tonight and hopefully play slow. Under 230. 230 is still a lot of points. Hornets, we're going to take them plus 6.5 against the Suns. No Devin Booker yet, and the Suns are just in a bad way. So, maybe they sleepwalk against the Hornets and lose by 6 or less. Bungles, we're going to take them minus 1.5 this Sunday. So we're spreading out this parlay here. Eagles, I'm going to lay that 2.5 with them. It's inside a field goal. College basketball tonight. Let's take UNLV at home on the money line. We're going to take Boise State at home on the money line. Boise State's a big favorite. I think they're like laying 12 points at home. John, we've trashed the Canucks plenty on this program, but we think the Canucks are going to take care of business against the even shittier Blackhawks. So we got the Canucks on the money line.
Can't stress this enough, Alex. Canucks with new head coach Rick Tocchet.
Yeah, Rick Tocchet, Wayne Gretzky's buddy. So right out of the TNT said it worked once for the Colts against the Raiders when they brought in Jeff Saturday out of the studio. Texas on the money line against Oklahoma State, and North Carolina on the money line against Syracuse in the Carrier Dome because fuck Syracuse. That about does it before we go, I should mention check out our new feature. It's our Degenerates Corner sweat recaps. You can get that on the GNASS official newsletter. Find that at alexanderlacasse.substack.com, and there's a few other newsletter options. I'm a journalist by trade, so help me get my subscribership up. John, any parting thoughts before we say goodbye?
Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Alex, what is your odd, by the way?
Oh, again, plus 59.50.
Very, very tasty, my friend.
I said that at the top. But yeah, so Ray, once it gets posted, Red Sox seasoned win total under best bet of the year.
Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for everyone.